Alrighty, the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands across the nation. We recognise the deep, lasting connection that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have to the lands and the waters across the country, and thank Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people for caring for the lands for over 60,000 years. We also pay our respects to elders past and present and to emerging community leaders. We acknowledge that many of Australia's major road networks are attributed to First Nations peoples having used star maps and as waypoints on their journey through Australia's harsh terrain to reach landmarks such as watering holes. Joining me in the room today in introducing Tara McFarlane, our Manager of PBS Vehicle Approvals. Also joining me in the room is Les Bruiser, our Chief Engineer, and online is Jed Kenwright, our Senior Policy Analyst. We will get underway. Just to let everyone know again, today's session is being recorded and we'll share a copy of that recording and slides. Tara, thank you. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for coming. So today we are going to go through the HVNL changes and how they relate to the PBS scheme, vehicle approvals and design approvals. So the first change we're going to go through today is NHVS and the HVA changes. So after the HVNL implementation date, the below changes will be made. Accreditation will not be required for CML, concessional mass limits. This condition will no longer appear on VAs issued after the 1st of August 2026. Accreditation will still be required for the PBS combinations in other cases such as split axle and quad axle combinations, and for certain combinations that would like to use HVNL masses. So can you just go back? So there will be a 3-year transition period between the old NHVAS and the new HVA changes. So the conditions on VAs issued after the 1st of August will state operators can have either NHVAS or HVA, and they will be deemed compliant. So all VAs issued after the 1st of August 2026 will have updated conditions. VAs can still be used if they contain the words CML after the implementation date. The requirement for accreditation will no longer be enforced. So all in all, accreditation will still be required for CML masses up till the implementation date of the 1st of August. If your accreditation expires prior to the 1st of August, please contact the NHVR to discuss your options and what you can do. Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to discuss is the GML uplift. So from all legacy DAs and VAs, previously issued VAs will still be deemed compliant. We will not be retroactively updating any DAs and VAs. The PBS team will only update any labels on VAs that require a VA number change after the HVNL implementation date. So what this means is that any VA that has a VA number update will have label changes, and this is the example of it. So the previous VAs had CML and GML, and the new VA is simply a label change. So instead of CML, it'll be GML2. This means that VAs that do not require a VA number change will not need to reapply for any permits. Only if you would like to increase your mass on your permit to reflect the new GML limits would you need to reapply. And that requires consent from a road manager. There's something to remember with VAs and DAs is that the masses on the DA and VA that have been approved will not change. Nothing has changed in terms of masses. It is just a label on the DA and VA that has been updated. DAs and VAs will not be getting any extra mass that they have not already been approved for. So just wanted to give everyone a snapshot of what mass tables will probably look like after the implementation date for a brand new design approval and VA. So there will be no references to CML at all, and there will just be 2 options, the uplifted GML and the HML, which there is no change. Slide. So the next thing I wanted to discuss were the Euro 6 update. So on the 13th of March 2026, PBS implemented some of the Euro 6 changes early to align with the NTC and NHVR's decision to administer and enforce some of the Euro 6 mass provisions in line with approved policy intent. This involved the removal of component requirements, with Euro 6 combinations now able to access the concession as long as they meet with the manufacturer's minimum requirements of the components fitted on their vehicles. So they must continue to meet with all the conditions as outlined on the VA. So 2 more changes will be implemented on the 1st of August that relate to Euro 6. The first one is around the pavement vertical loading exemption. So the HVNL updates will now allow road train combinations to access Euro 6 concessions. Whilst PBS, A-doubles and road trains have always been able to access the concession, they have required a PBS standard exemption for pavement vertical loading, which would have limited their access to certain routes and notices. From the 1st of August, this condition will no longer be required. DAs and VAs issued after the implementation date will no longer contain this condition that's on the screen right now and any associated conditions listed on the VA. This exemption can be disregarded on all VAs after the implementation date. We can remove the condition upon request through a PBS certifier without resulting in a VA number change. So it's up to you whether you'd like to go through the process of getting it removed.
I'll just let everyone know if there are any questions as we're going throughout today's session, please use the Q&A button at the top of your screen to pop those questions in. We'll certainly have some time at the end to review and work through those.
Thank you, Chris. All right, the second Euro 6 change is around tri-drive and tridem drive combinations. So from the 1st of August, combinations containing a hauling unit with a tri-drive or tridem drive axle group will not be able to access the Euro 6 mass transfer concession. The additional 500 kilos that Euro 6 allows will all need to be on the steer for these combinations. Any VAs that already have the mass transfer on it will be valid if issued before the implementation date, but we cannot guarantee road manager approval for these masses. And the last thing we wanted to touch on is the general access length increases. So from the 1st of August, truck and trailer combinations such as truck and dog, truck and big, truck and tag trailer, and prime mover semi-trailer combinations, the general access length will go from 19 to 20 meters. So in terms of design approvals and vehicle approvals, all current exemptions will still be in place. Nothing really changes for us. This does mean that some PBS combinations will be able to run as general access vehicles after the implementation date. However, it is important that operators ensure that they meet all the additional dimensional and component requirements outlined in the mass dimensional and loading legislation. There are some additional conditions that especially prime mover and semi-trailers do need to meet in order to be general access vehicles. So you've got to keep that in mind if you don't want to use your VA anymore. Otherwise, operators that are 20 meters and under can still run as specified PBS vehicles by carrying their VA with them as per the current rules. If operators want to run with additional mass above GML, they will need to continue to apply for permits or run under notices. No additional exemptions are able to be provided above what is already available in the PBS scheme. If a combination is over 20 meters, a permit will be required for level 1 access. And just a quick reminder that operators should be alert when they're purchasing vehicles that might seem to be a little bit cheap or too good to be true. When buying vehicles, they may have been PBS certified and they may not meet with prescriptive requirements. You might have some extra costs, get them on the road, so it's worth investigating that a little bit further. And that is everything.
Thanks for that, Tara. Well, we do have some time now to work through any questions that anyone on the call may have. So please do use the Q&A button at the top of your screen to pop those questions into the chat, and we will work through those. There is a couple there already. We did also have a query come through just regarding prior industry information sessions. We've held sessions over the last 2 weeks for MDL and then just last week around SMS and accreditation. So I have popped the link to those sessions, recordings and slides in the chat. So please make use of that for anyone that's looking to look at that material. If you're having any difficulty or if you'd like that link sent to you directly, please pop us a note through at info@nhvr.gov.au and we'll certainly be happy to help. Alrighty, we'll jump to our first question. Michael's popped a question through. After the changes, a truck and dog that is under 20 meters, what weight can it run on? Sorry, what weight can it run at on any road?
So there are some caveats. It depends. If you meet all the conditions to be a general access vehicle, so there are some braking conditions and things like that you need to meet if you want to be over 19 and under 20 to be a general access vehicle. But if you meet all those conditions, it is 44 tons as a general mass vehicle, level 1. That taking into account the uplift to CML weights.
Righty, thanks for that, Tara. We've got a few here. Let me just pick up that next question. Sanjay's popped in a question. There is a requirement of having side underrun if we increase length from 9.6 meters onwards between articulation point and the center of the rear axle on trailer. ADR 106 does not specify any requirement for side underrun. Can you please advise?
Yeah, so currently the side underrun protection has been a requirement for a period of time for all those PBS combinations, which vehicles or trailers which had mass dimension exceeding 9.5. You're absolutely right. That particular ADR doesn't reference that vehicle type. We are currently talking to the feds in terms of a new wording. In terms of the requirements, they are all lined up with the European requirements in terms of what the technical requirements are. At this point in time, I think there will be a reference in the MDL, which is specifying the technical requirements for side underrun protection. But yes, you are right. The reference will be the reference for ADR 106 will be changed.
Thank you, Les. Alrighty, we've got a few more questions here. And Steve, thank you for your question. That is noted, and we'll take that on notice and have a member of the team reach out and come back to you on that. Stacey's popped in a question. When you say the accreditation will still be required for tri and quad axle, was this for truck or trailers?
So this is when PBS combinations are done, they are done as a combination. So we are talking about a quad combination, so both prime mover and trailers together. So if you have a PBS vehicle that is a quad combination, on your VA, you will see there are accreditation requirements and they will still stand. So you will still need either HVAS or HVA for those ones.
Thank you. And Trudy's popped through a question. During the transition, VAs will list GML1, GML2 and HML. Following the transition, will only list GML and HML. Is that correct?
So not quite, and apologies, it is a little bit confusing. So because older design approvals still have CML on them, and we're not going to retroactively go back and remove them, after the 1st of August, all of those legacy DAs will just have CML referred to GML2 forever. That's just how the VAs will be presented. Any new design approvals will just have the GML and HML.
Right, Paul's popped through a question. Is there any additional support for road managers and the NHVR to speed up the process for approvals for VA or DA and road access? Current New South Wales and TMR approvals are blowing out to over 8 weeks.
We probably will have to take that one away to discuss with the PBS access permit department, because that is, we create the vehicle approvals and the next step is the permit section. So we aren't privy, unfortunately, to their processes, but we can definitely take that question away.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. And thanks, Paul, for the query there and the feedback. We'll certainly take that on notice and share that with the team for a response. Mitchell's popped through a question, just confirming, will all 20-metre PBS combination B-double be able to operate on general access if it stays under 44 tonne?
So no, B doubles are not part of the length increase at this stage. It is still being discussed and something that has not been implemented yet. So B doubles still current rules, 19 metres and under to be general access.
Just for your information, so this increased length proposal has been done in 2 stages. The first stage was just looking at general access vehicles. The issue is that under the law currently, B doubles are restricted access vehicles, so these are class 2 vehicles, so that's a different class. To include those B doubles, there are additional changes which will be required in terms of the law to have specific clauses which basically change the classification of those combinations. We've done our safety assessment for 20-metre long B doubles, but that's not part of the current package, but hopefully it will be coming. So currently, if you have a 20-metre long B double approved under PBS, you will still need to operate that as a PBS combination.
Thank you. Bob's asked a question, can side underrun compliance be included in an updated VSB6 for vehicles manufactured prior to ADR requirements? What will happen with modified trailers?
Bob, we are currently working with the feds to establish the system. As I said, the difficulty is that we cannot really reference an ADR. The current proposal is that on the design approval, when the vehicle is going through to the federal department to get a VTA, then they will be referencing the side underrun protection requirement, and what is making even more complex that we will need to issue a vehicle standards exemption for that, because that theoretically that longer trailer doesn't comply with the MDL requirements of the 9.5 as dimension. So we are trying to work out a reasonably simple system for the management of those vehicles, but we are still in discussion with the federal department and also the NTC in terms of the final text, what will be in the MDL. So please give us a little time until we work it out, but we understand that that's going to be a practical question for the certification of those vehicles after the introduction of the law.
Thank you, Les. Alrighty, Mary's popped through a question here as well, saying GML is the new CML and 19 metres is extended to 20 metres would mean most of our fleet of quad dogs would not need to be PBS. But then it's stipulated that if you're PBS or run under the truck and dog notice, you require accreditation. The truck and dog notice has not been updated yet to base off, and in the recent webinar, you're saying to remove any vehicle from PBS that you would need a certified to confirm. But there's no rule set or laws have been confirmed yet, so how can we initiate that process? Do you have any guidance for Mary?
So I guess you're saying that you have, this one, I would probably recommend that you reach out. There is, each kind of case is different. The only time accreditation is not going to be needed going forward is to get CML weights. If your VA references accreditation in any other way, then you're still going to need it. So without looking at your particular instance, it's hard to say. Probably you would reach out either to a certifier or to the NHVR just to get a little bit more clarity on your specific circumstances.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. And Mary, if you did want to reach out to the regulator, please pop a note through to info@nhvr.gov.au, and we'd be happy to connect you to the right people for that conversation to continue. Evan has popped in a question. Will access permits approved at GML need to be reapplied for CML, or will they automatically get the mass uplift?
So they will not automatically get the mass uplift. If additional weight is required, you will need to reapply, because any additional weight will require reconsent by a road manager.
If it has been approved before, then.
But if it already has been approved at the CML,
So if
then
the
you're fine.
CML weights are already approved, then there won't be any need for reapply for them.
Yes, but if it was at the old GML weights, then you want the new GML weights, then you will need to reapply.
Paul's popped in a question. Are there any plans to increase the allowable length of BD combinations, 26 metres, without PBS approval?
Not at this stage in this package, which is going through, but we've been looking at different options, how we could look at those dimensional limits. Obviously, you know that the prescriptive limits for B doubles are different somehow in some jurisdictions, but it would require probably a different design requirement in order to make it sure that the longer vehicles can negotiate the network without any problem. The increased length potentially can increase the sweat part of the vehicle, which is a major concern for road managers and road authorities. We've started to do some assessments in terms of what is the effect of increased length for those combinations, but that work hasn't been completed yet.
Thank you. And Kevin's popped in a question. Will a 19-metre truck and quad dog at 56.5 tonne go to 57.5 tonne?
So I'm assuming you're speaking about level 2 masses here on your VA. So without looking at your particular circumstance, in theory, yes, that is correct. But these masses these are either masses that you would need either a permit for or a notice for. So the possibility is 57.5, but you would still need additional access requirements for those ones.
The question come through from Maxine. Can you please clarify the super single steer tyre allowance? This is still a GVM of 68.5 on a BD, not increasing it to 69.1 GVM.
So the issue with super singles that and I'm not sure what you are referencing, that in the first version of the proposed changes, there was a clear difference between combination types and especially in PBS. While the intent of the law changes is that for all those vehicles would be the increased masses would be available for all those different combination types. Initially, there was a difference between B doubles and road trains. And even if, let's say, if you have a PBS A double, that was considered to be a road train. The second issue was that you might not utilize all the mass increase on the steer axle, and there was a requirement for the minimum steer axle or steer tire in terms of the tire size must be suitable to carry the load what's on the steer axle of that combination. So if you have, for instance, a Euro 6 vehicle where you only carry, let's say, 6.7 on the steer axle, and you want to transfer the extra mass to the drive axle group, then you would be able to do that, and you won't need to comply with the 315 tire requirement. Unfortunately, it's a little bit complicated because it's not just the increased masses on the steer axle, but the driving force behind the changes is that the components of the vehicle must be able to carry the load. That's one thing. The other thing is that road managers and road authorities were concerned about the pavement impacts of the increased masses, considering that normally the steer axle is the most damaging axle. So you would be able to utilize the mass increases on both road trains and BW combinations. And in PBS, we start that earlier than the implementation of the load. I'm not sure if I answered your question or not.
All right, we've got a handful more questions. I am mindful of time, so we may only have opportunity for a couple more. If there are questions that we don't get to, we will reach out to those folks individually. We do have another webinar starting at 8:30. So our last question: after the changes, a truck and dog that is under 20 meters, what weight can it run on? Sorry, what weight can it run at on any road at GML2 on VA weights?
Changes a truck and dog that is under 20 meters, what weight can it run on? So if you are trying to run at anything above 44 tons after the 1st of August, you will need a permit or to run on a notice. So the GML2 masses on your VA will be higher than the general mass limits for general access vehicles. So you will need permits or notices to run at those weights. It's only general access 44 tons for a truck and dog would be your maximum, sorry. That's the maximum weight without a permit. And anything more than that, you would need either a permit or a notice. I hope that makes sense.
So the GML increase is for general access. So if you will have a 20-meter long combination, then you would be able to operate that on the network unless there is a mass restriction anywhere. But if you go above the GML weights, then you have to have another instrument in terms of accessing the network. So you will be able to do that under the prescriptive guidelines, or you can do that under PBS, but you will need some sort of permit to run the combination.
Thank you. That does bring us to time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We will reach out and address those questions that we haven't got to. I can see that there are a handful there, so thank you for all of those. We will share slides in the recording at a later time. Friday afternoon, they'll come out. I did also post the link, so please make use of that if you're looking for any prior sessions. If you have any questions or would like to get in contact, please make use of the info@nhvr.gov.au email there on screen, or reach out by phone on 13 NHVR. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.